Okay, good morning, and welcome to our July edition of Wake Up Newport. I'm Steve Rosansky, President and CEO of the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank you all for coming out this morning. We've got a great speaker, but before we get to that, I do have a couple of announcements. So first off, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Credit Union of Southern California, and we have with us this morning Aaron Burnham. So Aaron, why don't you come up and tell us a little bit about what you guys do?
Good morning. Just a quick question real fast. How many people here have a credit union account or know what a credit union is? Anyone? Oh, good. A lot of hands. So credit unions are not-for-profit financial cooperatives which are owned by our account holders, or we call them members. Our credit union is Credit Union of Southern California. We're located on the second floor of the library. Our Newport branch is there. We offer a wide variety of services, free checking, auto loans with low rates, as well as home and some business lending. So if anyone ever has any questions, please come and visit us. My name again is Aaron. I'll be happy to help you or anyone on my team. We're up on the second floor of the library. I'd just like to thank the Chamber for this opportunity to sponsor this event. It's really great. They have incredible speakers, so thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. They have branches all over Southern California, don't you? Yeah. So also, I'd like to invite up Lori Bauman. Lori, back there somewhere? Lori? There she is. Oh, Lori left. This is the Lori surrogate. She's with the Back Bay Bistro, and they provided the delicious crepes in the back. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the Back Bay Bistro?
Yeah, great. Hello, my name's Hannah, and I work for the Newport Dunes, which hosts the Back Bay Bistro restaurant on our site. And every weekend, we do incredible brunches, Saturday and Sunday. This month, we have our wine dinner on the 18th and our Lobster Fest this weekend. I personally work in sales and sell the venue for events, so if you're ever needing to host a corporate event or a private room for any sort of get-together, you can come talk to me after the speech, and I can give you my business card. Thank you.
Thank you. Glad you mentioned Lobster Fest. That's this weekend. The proceeds for that help fund our Leadership Tomorrow program, which educates 25 individuals every year as to leadership opportunities and how things happen here in the county. So it's a great day out at the Dunes, and I think there's still tickets available. You can either get all-you-can-eat lobster or just buy one. Just depends on what you want, but go on their website. Probably like, what is it, lobsterfest.com or something? .org? Okay. Anyway, go to the Newport Beach website, Chamber website, and you can find it there. So we do have a couple of VIP-type people here with us this morning that I'd like to introduce. So first off, we have our Fire Chief, Scott Poster. From the City Manager's Office, we've got Rob Houston here this morning. Rob used to be a regular. I haven't seen him in a little while, but he's back, so hopefully he's done with all his vacationing and all these foreign places that he's been going, and we'll see him. We have Pierre Swan with the Irvine Ranch Water District, Director. Thank you, Pierre, by the way, the district's sponsoring our Green on the Green Expo on September 10th. Thank you for that. We really appreciate that, the support. And also, in case you haven't noticed, there is an election this year, and one of our city council candidates is with us this morning, Phil Greer. Phil, in the back. He's running for Keith Curry's seat. So without further ado, let me get on to our main event here, our speaker. And I see that I didn't print it out in big enough type for me to read it, so I'm going to have to hold it up a little closer. But our speaker this morning is Shari Freidenrich. I even asked her and I blew it. Freidenrich. She was elected the Orange County Treasurer in 2010 and re-elected in June 2014. As the Orange County Treasurer, Shari's responsible for overseeing $8 billion investment portfolio, with about half of that's county funds and the other half is school district funds. She's also responsible for collecting all of our property taxes, and hence that's why I got a letter from you about a week ago, or actually 3 or 4 letters, unfortunately. Yeah. Is there any way I can get like a group discount on that or something? No? Nothing. Okay. Shari served on the 9-member Orange County Pension Board, which manages $12 billion in Orange County pension pension plan funds. She's also a member of the Audit Oversight Committee, the Deferred Compensation Committee, and the Public Financing Advisory Committee. Shari's also a leader in the field of municipal treasury professionals. She's a past president of the California Municipal Treasurers Association and is also a past president for the Association of Public Treasurers of the United States and Canada. She currently serves as the Sergeant-at-Arms for the California Association of County Treasurer Tax Collectors, and in 2013, Shari was awarded a Rose Award, which is a prestigious award here in the county. It's a Rose Award from the Orange County Taxpayers Association for her work in streamlining property tax payments and saving taxpayer funds. She's a licensed certified public accountant in California and holds several state and national certifications in public finance and funds management. And she graduated summa cum laude from Washington State University with a degree in business and an emphasis in accounting. So this is where it gets a little bit more distressing. Okay, I just read this paragraph this morning, so I'm a little distressed, and I'll tell you why, or maybe you'll be able to figure it out. Shari's been an active member in a number of organizations over the last 20 years, including being president of both the Huntington Beach Rotary Club and the Seroptimus Club of Huntington Beach. She's a member of the Huntington Beach Chamber of Commerce and the South County Chamber of Commerce, but it doesn't say Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce. What's up with that, Shari? Okay, I'm asking. All right, we'll fix that. Shari's also the past president of the Alumni Association for Washington State University and currently serves as the governor on the Washington State University Board Foundation, or Foundation Board, where she's on the audit committee. Her husband, Clive, and her were married in Newport Beach and used to live in Newport Beach, but now they reside in Huntington Beach. I give you Shari Freidenrich.
Good morning. Thank you very much, President and CEO Rosansky, for inviting me to speak to Wake Up Newport today. I am honored to be here. I have been a Chamber of Commerce member at several chambers and soon to be the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce for over 20 years, and my father was a former chamber president and also a longtime chamber member. This forum is a great opportunity to have your citizens meet one-on-one with legislative and government officials. I spent over 16 years in private industry, and after the Orange County bankruptcy in 1996, I decided that government needs very strong, competent financial professionals and went into public service. Because of my mix of private and public background, I understand the challenges that governments and businesses have, and my goal is to bring best business practices into local government. I was just named an honorary member of the Orange County Association of Realtors due to the work that I have done in the property tax area, in addition to receiving the Rose Award, as Steve mentioned. So today, I'm going to update you on the state of the county treasury, and I'm going to cover 3 main points. It's going to be a lot of information in a short period of time. I'm going to start with just a brief summary of what does the treasurer of the county do. Then I'm going to talk about my top 5 common sense changes that I have implemented for you in the last 5 years. And then I'm going to finally close with some tax tips that I think may be helpful to you in your businesses or as taxpayers. So the Office of the Treasurer Tax Collector has 2 main functions. The first is the treasurer function, which is the investment of public funds. Secondly, it is being the tax collector for the county. And so those of you who are businesses or own boats or aircraft just received that nice little love note this last month. The unsecured tax bills went out. So that's my primary responsibility as a tax collector, is to collect property taxes. On the treasurer side, I do invest over $8 billion both for the county, and also I'm the banker for the school district by state law. So when your school needs to make payments, I am the person that actually makes sure that they have the funds available to make the payroll and other operating expenses. Now, public fund investing is a little bit different than the investing that most of you may do, other than perhaps your day-to-day business, working capital if you're a business. Our objectives really first are safety, liquidity, and lastly, yield. So you might look at our yield, which is below 1%, and say, oh my gosh, she's not really earning us, but our focus is on safety and preservation of capital. The monies that I invest are expended daily, weekly, in paying our vendors, paying our employees. They're really that working capital, so they need to be fairly short. Again, during the last 20 years that I've been in public service, I am honored to have an unblemished safety record. I like to go home and sleep at night, so for me, keeping those money safe is the most important thing. So in my role as treasurer, as you heard, there's several different committees that I sit on. The one I didn't add, and I do want to let you know, is I also sit here on the Newport Beach Unified School District Bond Oversight Committee. So I regularly go to those meetings here, and I'm looking at the oversight on that bond issue that was passed years ago. On the tax collector side of my responsibilities, as mentioned, I do collect that annual property tax bills. The secured bills go out in the September timeframe, and the unsecured bills, which are on business equipment, boats and aircraft, go out in the July period. And there's about 200 agencies in Orange County that get a portion of that property tax bill. Now, a majority of those taxes goes to schools, and I'm going to just give you sort of, if you can visualize a dollar of property tax, 62% of the property tax that you pay here in Orange County goes to fund schools. 6% stays with the county, so the county gets 6% to do its general government. We also get 1% for the libraries for those cities who don't have their own library, which here in Newport Beach, we're very blessed to be in the Newport Beach Library. 11% goes to special districts. That could be water districts, it could be vector control, it could be OCFA, fire districts. 10% goes to successor agencies, and then probably the one that's most important to all of you is 11 cents or 11% of that dollar on average goes to cities. Now in your city, you get 17.6 cents. So you get slightly more than the average of 11 cents. But it does vary, and it's really all based on Prop 13. And so one of the important things for each of you to know, if you don't know, is that Orange County is a donor county. You say, well, what's donor? That means I donate something to someone else. Well, that's what you're doing. You donate part of that tax dollars that's going, that 62 cents that's going to schools, it's actually going to pay for Northern California schools. So you are a donor county, and it's all, when Prop 13 went in place, we didn't have much taxes, and so people got, they got the same share of taxes then. It's just we've developed a lot more. In fact, Orange County provides the second most property taxes of all the counties in the state. LA is the highest. So just to put that in perspective, Orange County gets 6 cents of every dollar. LA County, which was more developed at the time, gets 24 cents of every dollar. And Sierra County, which is up in Northern California, gets over 50 cents of every dollar. Also, the city and county of San Francisco gets over 50 cents, but they're also a city and a county. So we really survive on our 6 cents. Now, property tax revenue for the city of Newport Beach is about 50% of your total general fund revenue to handle your general fund operations that you have, fire, police, roads, those general government types things. But they also have sales tax and transient occupancy tax. So I do remind you, especially here at the Chamber of Commerce, make sure that you spend locally and you have people stay locally. Very important for the city to get those tax dollars in. Now, you get 17 cents of that tax dollar, and it represents almost 50%. The county gets 6 cents, and it represents almost 92% of our discretionary funds. So we really don't have any diversity. We really are based on property taxes. So property taxes go up and down. We have to live and die by that. And luckily, in the last, years, I think property taxes only dip below it's gone negative just a few times. So that has definitely helped us. Now, we bill almost $5.7 billion of property taxes annually, and I'm honored to be able to stand before you and say that this last year, we had the highest collection rate ever. We had a collection rate of 99.6%. That means that only 0.4% of taxpayers, or about $42 million, did not get paid as of June 30th. And that is really one of the highest, I think it's the highest collection record that we can see in all the counties of the state. So thank you for paying your taxes timely. The good news on that is that the county kind of likes to have that late revenue. They like the 10% penalty. They like the 18% interest. But I work for you, so I want to make sure that you don't pay those penalties. And having a high collection rate means that very few people are paying those penalties, because that takes out of the economy and it puts it into, the county who has to use it. But you'd rather use it because if you have the money, you should be paying that. Now, one of the things that I also do, in case you have a need, I had a friend last year who was in the hospital, and it was right around tax time. We talked, and I said, have you paid your property taxes? And she said, I haven't. I said, do you have your checkbook? She said, I do. I said, well, I'll come down and pick up your check. So I do make house calls, so if you need something, please let me know. We've also added a service where you can pay up till midnight. So many people have called me at 10 o'clock and said, Shari, I forgot to pay my taxes. And I said, no problem. Go online. You can use your e-check, your checking account, and you can pay for free. There's no cost. And get your receipt stamped, and you're in good shape. No 10% penalty. So I'm going to cover now, we talked a little bit about what I do. I'm going to cover the 5 top common sense changes that I have made for you. And you may look at them and say, how come it was never changed before? But government takes a little bit of time to do these things. Well, the first change is in the area of pensions, kind of a hot topic here in Orange County. And 2 changes that I was instrumental in getting through changed the save the taxpayers over $800 million. A little chunk of change for you and your grandkids and nieces and nephews. As a trustee, we are responsible for funding the pension benefits that are approved by the Board of Supervisors. And as a CPA, when we talked about the funding, I said, okay, can I get an amortization schedule of where the funding is? So they gave it to me. And I had thought, okay, we have a 30-year amortization. 30 years, kind of typical for us, mortgages, especially when you're paying, you pay a little bit over time and gradually the principal goes up and the interest goes down. Well, for government, I found out in looking at the schedule, they didn't start paying principal till year 21. So it meant that we had all this negative amortization. It's kind of like a mortgage that didn't have any principal payments for 20 years, and then you'd pay them down to the last 10. That's really very poor fiscal practices. And so we changed it to 10 years, and we saved taxpayers, and we even lowered rates for the county. We saved $678 million by making this simple change. In addition, as you all know, and those of you who have any, savings accounts or CDs, rates are very low and, have been low. Inflation is low. We had an inflation factor of 3.25%. And I said, that seems awfully high. Can we reduce that? And, our actuary looked at it and said, I really think you're right. We probably should reduce it to 3%. So that single change again, helped reduce the growth of these pension liabilities by $178 million. So 2 ways that certainly common sense, but you have to ask the question. So the second area is in property taxes. Again, a very hot topic because all of you probably pay through your business or perhaps through your home or through leasing. You all pay some portion of that property taxes. Well, when I first ran for office, my goal was to eliminate the full color tax bill. For those of you in business or even personally, you know that color just costs more than black and white. And I don't think any of you, maybe a few of you may not know you have to pay your property tax bill, but it's going to come. I don't need to have a glossy full color bill. So the first year we implemented that and it saved you, the taxpayers, about 20%. And 20% starts adding up, and we have had our highest collection rate ever, so it certainly didn't affect the quality of what you saw. It's got 1 color, and we have each color for each type of bill. Again, one of the areas that we'd worked on is to communicate more effectively to you on our tax bill. So we made a couple of changes. The first is we didn't have our situs address or your address on the tax bill. So when you got the tax bill, it'd say your APN, but it wouldn't say your actual address. And how many know their APN? Okay. How many know their address? Okay, more of you know your address. So again, a simple change to have it. That change we also rolled online, because if you were paying online, it would only have your APN. And what would happen is people would pay your neighbor's property tax because it was 1 digit off. And of course, if it was about the same amount, you wouldn't recognize it. So we've added your address to our website, the tax bill, and to both the in-person receipt and the online receipt. Because again, you want to make sure that you're paying your property taxes. So a simple common sense change that really eliminated a lot of duplicate payments or people paying the wrong bill. In addition, we added, for those techies, we added the QR code. So when you get your tax bill, scan that in and it'll take you right to our website to your tax bill. So you can do that. We also had a lot of people that pay through an impound account, through mortgages. And again, those mortgages usually make that payment for you unless you've paid it off. And we had 2 stubs. I can't tell you how many people see the stub and they still pay even though it said do not pay. So we took the stubs off and now we don't have that issue. We also, probably one of the major changes that we did is we basically left the current year tax bill online. So now, I've been here 5 years, we have 6 years of tax bills. And this is important because April 10th is right before a certain other date. Does anyone know what April 15th is? Yeah, April 15th is the federal and the state tax due. Well, we bill on a fiscal year basis. So for your tax bill, it covers 2 calendar years, but the feds and the state are on a calendar year basis. So I was on the phone and all these people were asking for their prior year's tax bill because of course they couldn't find it. So we added them online, and one of the benefits is our incoming phone calls went down by 30% in 1 year after we added them because now people could self-serve. Another big change that we've made is people may not have paid one of their installments, and the tax bill we send you isn't a statement. It's basically an invoice. So we had 10,000 people last year that had not paid one installment of a prior tax. So we made those bills in red so that when you got it, and we also put in as big as we could, letters that said, please call us because you owe delinquent taxes. Most of those people had no idea that they hadn't paid one tax, because once we send you out those first notices, we don't send it to you again. We've made a lot more changes in the area, but I know in the interest of time, I can talk with you about them after. Probably the last change that I want to talk about on property taxes is we have a lot of international people who are coming in and buying property, and for them, they had to change currency. They had to send us some type of a money order in order to pay their taxes. Well, we added simply international credit cards online because our credit cards when I came wouldn't take an international credit card. So now the credit card company deals with all of the conversion and they get paid. They don't mind paying the convenience fee because that fee is cheaper for them than doing that. And which country do you think pays the most property taxes by credit card? Okay, I heard China. You have got it right. China is top, followed by Taiwan, Canada, South Korea, Mexico. Again, in terms of property taxes we have really tried to improve our communications. The third common sense change is in the area of public funds. And when I first came to office, one of my responsibilities was to reconcile our fees that we charged on, basically we run a money market fund for our pool investors. And we had identified that we hadn't reconciled for 5 years. So I had to go to the board and ask for $2.8 million to pay back our investors because we hadn't reconciled and we'd overcharged them. In addition, one of the things that was happening a couple years ago was the state was really in cash issues, and they were borrowing money from schools. And you didn't know this, but they would borrow the money from the schools and not pay any interest. Well, those schools still needed to make payments, so the state law has a code that allows the county to basically take their own money and loan them. So we were loaning them money, and so we helped save over $1.2 million annually for schools by giving them low cost instead of going into the market and having to borrow money to make some of those payments because the state was basically just not paying the money that was legally due them. The fourth common sense change is in the area of non-tax payments. And these are invoices for, say, weights and measures. If you're a restaurant, the bistro, they have weighing machines that you have to have. There are fees for those. And we were able to reduce our credit card fees for those significantly, and we were able to pass that along then to the county because the county absorbs all of those fees. And we save thousands of dollars by using a state bid contract. Again, common sense changes. We need to competitively bid our products. and we need to make sure that we're getting those lowest costs. The last common sense change that I want to talk about is really just general operations. And all of you, either in your day-to-day or in your business, you just look at things. Sometimes in government, if we've been doing things the same way, you might not think about it. So I've told staff I want you to look at every invoice, every contract when it comes to make sure we need the service, because we want to be diligent in those property tax spending that we do. And we found that we had a lot of equipment that we were paying maintenance on. Well, it's important for us to have that cashiering equipment that we know when we process all those cash, but the maintenance was costing us more than it would to buy them new. So we got rid of all of the maintenance, so not all of it, but the ones that were more expensive, so that when the item goes down, we just buy a new one. Again, on a single contract, we saved over $100,000 on a 3-year contract just by eliminating some unnecessary services. So again, very important that we need to be diligent with those taxpayers' dollars. Now, when I look at all those savings, they added up to over $825 million. We certainly want to make sure that we have transparency for records, because they're your records, we work for you, but we're also saving you money. And I think some of those common sense changes gives you an idea of just a few of the many things that we're doing every day. Probably the last one that I will bring up, because it is fairly new and it's been very popular, is we have a new GIS map on the website. And if you go to your property tax, you put in your address or your APN if you know it, you'll see a little map. That map is going to take you to a map of the county, and it's going to show you your property and some key information on that map. So you can go and you can hover over your neighbor's property, you can hover over your property, you can see what their assessed value is, and it's really a great tool for you, because if you're looking for an address, you can actually click on it. You can find that address by going to our website. We have one of the best GIS systems in the state. So moving on, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on county finances, but I am going to tell you that the county recently had its credit rating upgraded, and we were instrumental because of our safety of our funds and having liquidity, which is one of the two of the things that the county rating agencies look at. So I've handed this out. There's several around. If you didn't get one, you can email me, and I'll make sure I get one to Steve here. We'll drop them by so you can pick them up. We are AA+ for the county now, and on our general obligation, our lease revenue, I think we are AA. So we definitely are moving up. A couple of property tax that I want you to know about. One is assessed values this last year went up by 5.44% on average for the county. Newport Beach, 6.48%. So you guys have done a great job. Thank you again for those values going up. The highest was Lake Forest at 8.11. Now, a couple of closing tax tips. We talked a little bit about our website. The website has a lot of information on it. It's ocgov.com/OC tax bill. It's on the business card I gave most of you, so you don't have to look for it. It's got a lot of really helpful information. If you pay online by e-check, it's free. Payment, you get a receipt. You can pay all the way up till midnight. We have a tax reminder. For those of you like myself who's getting a little more forgetful, it's an email that will go out to you when the tax bills are mailed, and it will go out to you 10 days and 1 day before that last payment date. Because we work for you, we don't want you to make that, you don't want that payment to be late. In addition, if you're interested in timeshares, we are one of the top counties that have timeshares. We're going to be auctioning off hundreds of timeshares either later this year or probably the first part of next year. On my card, you can sign up for our tax auction reminder. So there's information on the tax auction. Sign up, you'll start getting information on those timeshares that we'll be doing an online auction for. Timeshares are a piece of property that you own, but it's a week in a resort. So the Marriott has a lot of timeshares down here in Newport Coast, so you can buy a week of that. Well, some people aren't paying their property taxes. So because they're not paying their property taxes, we're going to foreclose on that essentially and sell that week. So there's going to be lots of weeks that we're going to be selling, over 600 of those that we're going to be selling. And Then, I think just to stress, if you need a copy of prior year's tax bills, please go online. We've just added payment information for the last 3 years. So title, escrow companies, very important for them to know when payments were made. We're really trying to, again, make our records transparent, but we do have kind of an old system, so it's a little more difficult than we'd like. I think this has given you hopefully an overview of the state of the Treasury here at the county, a little bit about what I do as your treasurer working for you, a couple of the many common sense changes that we have made that benefit you. We've saved a lot of money, and we hopefully have also are going to save you time, and a couple of tax tips that you can use. So with that, I've been honored to work for you in the county, and I hope to continue spending wisely and protecting those valuable taxpayers' dollars that you get us. I'm available for any questions. I think we've got about 10 minutes, so if you've got questions, I'm available for those. Yes. Excellent question. The question was, how long before we foreclose on a property that has not paid taxes? We wait until one payment is over 5 years delinquent. So it doesn't have to be all 5 years delinquent. It actually just has to be one payment. So you think all these people, that those 10,000 people, we could have foreclosed on their property if they hadn't paid that tax, and who would have thought that you were current? So very good question on that. 18% a year. By state law, 18% a year. So that is the state law. The 10%, those are all right in the Revenue and Taxation Code. What we do is you have a 10% payment similar to your mortgage if you haven't paid by the last timely due date, and that is the April 10th and the December 10th. Interest doesn't start until the first of the next year. So if you have all the way up till June 30th to pay that penalty, and then there's an interest charge of the 18% that's charged the first of every month. So if you pay on the 10th, we don't prorate it, it's the first of every month, plus there's a small processing fee that we also charge that first time you go delinquent. Yes, question?
You mentioned earlier on the pension fund reducing the inflation rate from 3.25% to 3%. Just curious how you guys arrive at that. Pretty much every measure of inflation I've seen the past 8 years is sub 2%. Including energy this year, it's now negative if you look at CPI.
Very good question. The question was, I talked about our pension plan, and currently I mentioned that we had an inflation rate of 3.25 and it dropped to 3%, and he asked, how do we calculate that? Excellent question. Our actuary comes up with, we hire a professional, they come up with essentially what they believe the inflation rate is. And so several years ago, we started talking about it. Now, the rate is based on a 30-year period because we don't expect to pay those pensions off overnight, so we aren't looking for a 1 or 2 time period, but even in 30 years, inflation, I think Social Security, they expect inflation to be more of like 2.5, 2.2%. So this last year, we said, we really need you to dig deeper and really look at these. And that's when he said, we believe you should drop it to 3%. And what we'll do for this next year is we'll consider seeing, should we drop it further? Usually when you make some of these changes, you might not want to make dramatic changes because it does have impacts on contribution rates. So you try to be measured and not have a lot of volatility. We don't want to change something and then have to change it the next year. But excellent point. So we're trying to make sure we review that and look at that. And I expect certainly if rates continue to stay low, it may drop again. But great question. Yes? Because it is slightly different, there are different factors that we have here versus there. You have the CPI. Ours is really focused on what's happening here a little bit, but it's certainly also general inflation because we invest in a lot of other instruments that are around the world. But it's something we are looking at. They try to look at several different measures to come up with it. But and I apologize. The question was, why don't we just use the Social Security inflation rate? sorry. But we do try to look at different measures because one may not be that best measure. We don't know exactly how they calculate theirs, but it's certainly something to keep in mind. So good input. Thank you. Other questions on property tax or pensions or other information? Yes, Steve.
So you talked about the inflation rate is not as high as has been traditionally, and so you've been lowering it. But also the return on your investments in the pension fund is significantly lower than probably what, I don't know if you mentioned earlier, what is the number that you're using as a projected return on your investments, and what are you actually seeing as?
Excellent question. This is really the heart of the pension plan is what is your discount rate or what do you expect to earn over this 30-year period? And when I started, we were at 7.75%. And that first year, actually, I think it was the second year, the actuary came in and said, you need to reduce it to 7.5%. And that was a professional coming in. We didn't get the votes to change it then, but the next year he said, we recommend you going down to 7.25. And so we did change it to 7.5, and then we changed it to 7.25. So we're currently at 7.25. We are just reviewing this next year. It is based on the asset allocation, and we don't have a typical 40% equities, 60% equities, 40% fixed income. We do invest in some of the alternative investments, private equity, hedge funds. We invest in timber. We may invest in some of the others to try to balance out so you're not so dependent on the equities. And of course, bond rates. The rates have been low, but the earnings have been large because everyone expects rates to go up, and they have not gone up. Our last 2 years, we have basically been flat. So instead of earning our 7.25%, we earned almost zero. So not good for us. We do not have a focus on equities. Equities were the strength of these last 2 years, first in some areas, certainly. And so we are reevaluating that, and I expect that we're going to, again, look at all of the factual information this next year. But there are cycles. Cycles goes up. You never actually earn 7.25 or 7%. You earn something more or less. So the year before, we earned over 10%. So it is cycles, but it is something that's very important because it does affect that funding, and it's that intergenerational transfer. We want to make sure that we're balancing what's being paid today so that your grandkids aren't having to pay all of the burdens of all the debt. But so good question. Yes, Pierce, yes.
You talked a little bit about the allocation of the 1% property tax and the fact that we are the largest donor in Neal County in the state. Is there any realistic expectation that we could get any kind of a change on the increment?
Right.
Without taking anything away from anyone, but allocating the incremental growth, since we have growth down here, so we could be more like these other counties?
Excellent question. The question was, we are this donor county. 62 cents goes to schools, and a lot of that goes to Northern California schools. Is there any thought of us being able to take the incremental growth, kind of with the redevelopment agencies? What happened is they basically said, okay, here's a floor of, here's what all of the agencies are getting. All of these 200 agencies are getting this portion of this dollar, but we're going to take what's growth and actually add that specifically to Orange County, because as I mentioned, we produce the second most property tax in the nation, and we are the lowest county that receives the amount for property taxes. It is a state legislator issue, so I know we have some people who are active with their legislatures. We definitely want them to work on it. There was a time where we did have some dollars. We had about $40 million that was allocated directly to Orange County to help compensate for this shortfall, but after the county sued the state for this VLF lawsuit where, again, the state was shorting Orange County in some taxes, but because the county made an error in its bond financing, we no longer needed this security for this VLF. They then redistributed. vehicle license fee. It was another tax, the one you pay on your cars. So we lost this $40 million when that happened. But we definitely need to work on getting our dollars back, because we are now a thriving community here, and we have a lot of needs, and it's unfair, really. It's just unequal that they're getting, but no one wants to give up their share. So what Pierce is mentioning, that can we get the incremental, and I would encourage us to all go out and see, because, you know, it's an excellent idea to say that doesn't take it from someone currently, it takes future growth. So good question on it. I wish I could answer it, but I think I'll make sure I talk to my legislators also about it. Thank you. Any other questions? Otherwise, I think we're just about at.
One last one.
Yes.
So, one of your predecessors, will remain nameless, had a different investment strategy, and ultimately the county went into bankruptcy because of loss of investments. And so, are we clear of that yet, or when do we anticipate being clear of the financing that we do to get us out of that?
Excellent question. The question was, are we still paying any bankruptcy debt? Essentially, when you get down to it. And it was one of the items that I was going to cover. We are getting ready to pay off the last of our bankruptcy debt in 2017. So we are almost there, which is great news. Of course, the bankruptcy happened in 1994, so we've been paying it all of these years. So we are almost through that. So again, it will certainly help free up some of those dollars for the county, because they had to take dollars to actually pay that debt every year, and now it's freeing up some of the dollars for some of the areas. So great question. With that, I'm honored to work for you, and please feel free to call me or email me if you've got any questions. I also have an e-tax newsletter. If you're interested in getting on it, just give me your business card and I'll add you. I send out tax tips on that. And thank you again, and have a great day.
Thank you, Shari. That was very informative, and it sounds like we have some pretty good management there at the county level, and hopefully that'll continue to be the case, and maybe you can tweak those returns a little bit so that we don't have to start paying off those pensions with our kids' incomes as well. So that concludes our presentation. I do have a couple of quick announcements here. So we do have a few meetings coming up. Before I forget, I did forget to introduce one dignitary here, Paul Blank, Harbor Commissioner. Sorry, Paul. I realized that after, and I actually saw him come in too, so my bad. Anyway, August 17th is our business lunch. Our speaker is going to be Dr. Patty Malone. She's going to talk about increasing productivity and profitability through clear communication. And so that meeting takes place at the Bahia Corinthian Yacht Club. It's, I think, $25, and that really just covers the cost, or $30. Sorry, I guess we had an increase. 30. Hey, inflation, right? Inflation at the chamber is like 20%. See, so it is higher than you thought. In any event, it's from 11:30 to 1:30. They're great meetings. We usually have 40 to 60 or 70 people at those. It's a good way to network, but also get educated about important issues to your business. I know you all can't wait for our next barbecue in the parking lot, which will be the last one of the summer. That's going to be, as Pam's shaking her head back there, August 19th. Last month we did a dessert contest, and we had the top prize was a night stay at the Fairmont Hotel here in Newport Beach. And so I see two hoteliers, or there were two in the room. I could use a free room night at one of the hotels for our chili contest. Okay, that's what we're going to do this time, chili cooking contest. So bring your favorite chili recipe. That'll be August 19th from 4:30 to 6:30 at the chamber offices on Irvine Avenue. Our next mixer is going to be at Fig and Thank you. Our resident Marine, Jim Villers, new membership director, as you can tell. Our next mixer, our last mixer was a blowout. I think, what do we have, 175 people? About 180 people at Pelican Hill. It was just crazy. And I know a lot of people left because the valet was so full that they couldn't even get in. So it probably would have been 200 plus. This month, it'll be a little easier because they'll be parking without the valet, but at Fig and Olive over in Fashion Island. So hopefully you can join us for that. And then we have a couple of larger events coming up that I'd like to quickly mention. September 10th is our Green on the Green Eco Expo. It'll be on the Civic Green up here at City Hall. We'll be highlighting green businesses as well as organizations and things like that. This year's a little different, though. We're going to be partnering with the city fire department, Chief knows about this. They do every year. They do a disaster preparedness expo. So we're going to combine our two events into one. Hopefully, we'll have more attendance, and they can get green and get prepared. So hopefully you can join us for that. If you have a green business, we're still looking for exhibitors as well. So please get in touch with me, and we'll hook you up. September 29th, again, another thing that Chief Poster would be interested in is our firefighter and lifeguard appreciation dinner. That's going to be at the Marriott Hotel this year. Last year was an unbelievable event. I think we had about 330 people there, and I expect even more this year. So you can sign up online. And for all these events that I'm talking about, you can go to newportbeach.com and get all the information, as well as flyers in the back. And the last thing I'll mention is on October 2nd, we're going to have our 55th annual Sandcastle building contest at Corona del Mar State Beach. So if you've got a team or a family or a group or whatever, come on out. I think it's $25 to register. You get 8 T-shirts for your team, and we have cash prizes and trophies, and it's a lot of fun. We're going to have the Bubble Ladies going to be there for the kids, and some other stuff, so some classic cars. Yes? Oh, almost forgot about that. The most important thing coming up. I can't even believe I forgot about that. So 2 years ago, we did the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum for the election. We're going to do it again this year on August 16th. It's a Tuesday. It'll be right here in this room. I think we were sold out that 2 years ago. Yeah, so you definitely want to, we're going to honor the normally you can just show up here at the meeting, but for that, you definitely would want to make a reservation, because people with reservations will be given priority, and walk-ins will have to wait until we make sure that the reservation list has been taken care of. But I know I have commitments from at least 6 or 7 out of the 8 sort of announced candidates. Will be the first candidate forum. It'll be from 7:30 to 9 o'clock. Doors will open at 7. We'll have food again, so come early and enjoy the food, and then we're going to get educated as to the issues. And if Phil's still here, I hope he's boning up on city issues, because we're going to have some tough questions for these guys. And the interesting thing is, it's the first candidate forum, so they haven't done a dozen of them. They don't have their pat answers yet, so sometimes you get to hear what they really are thinking, not what they've kind of figured out, I better say. So it's kind of a good one to be at, and certainly we'd love to have you. So thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next month.